What you see right now is the screen that is on the Sony ZV-1 camera, not the new ZV-E10. But essentially they are exactly the same monitor, same size, same resolution, and even the Sony logo there is still positioned in the same way. If you're standing behind the camera, that logo is going to be upside down. Have you think about that you are looking through is a Sony ZV-E10, or isn't it? I get it for the ZV because they're trying to make this camera at the same style or same product line as the ZV-1. The 1, I probably guess maybe this is the first camera in this product line, but the E10, I just don't get it. Bear with me, I'm going to say a lot of Z. I know in the States, you guys speaking like Z, not Z. I'm in Canada, so that's how people speaking Z as Z here. So yeah. The functionality of this camera basically is exactly the same as the Sony A6400 camera. As you see, it doesn't have in-body image stabilization, has everything that A6400 offers, which also including a picture profile. That's something the A6100 camera does not have. The Sony ZV-1 camera, which is this camera here, does do all the things the same with the new ZV-E10 as well. I think about a song that goes viral online a few years back. Let's just sing this. I got a ZV-1. I got A6400. ZV-E10. I would say that's exactly how it is. It's just basically ZV-1 put in a A6400 APS-C form factor. It uses the same battery as well, which is this tiny battery, FW50 battery here. But however, the battery performance, I will talk about it later. Right now, I don't have any kind of camera that using this battery anymore. This camera still, I can still use these old batteries and here get it useful. Otherwise, just being lying around a red recording light in front of the camera, you won't miss that. Just like the Sony ZV-1. You also get a red square box that shows on the screen. It tells you you are recording right now. You're definitely gonna know if the camera is recording. And you also get this power zoom knob on the Sony ZV-E10 as well. That's going to work with the kit lens, the 16 to 35 to zoom in or zoom out focal length on that lens. The button layout is pretty much exactly the same as the ZV-1. You're still able to shoot photos. It's just all the buttons there are designed for you to shoot mainly in videos. So prioritize in video shooting. You can see that in video centralized the camera versus to A6400. But otherwise, the functionality, they are exactly the same. So they shoot 4K 30, 4K 24, 1080p up to 120 frames per second, all at 100 megabytes per second at maximum bit rate. So internal 420 8-bit, not like 10-bit 422. I've using this camera to a camping trip. I've shoot a lot of footages and shoot photos with it. It's just the same as the A6400. It's good because the sensor still shoots at 6K, downsampling to 4K, so the 4K quality is not bad at all. For people who intends to use this camera as to shoot a vlog with it, you're gonna happy with this camera. It doesn't have a recording limit. You can shoot as long as you want until the battery is exhausted, which the battery life is not so bad. You probably need to carry extra batteries, like maybe 2-3. I have 4 or 5 battery like this. You still got that skylight over there, so it's not like 100% dark. Behind me is totally pitch black, but we still got a little bit skylight. If you're gonna use this camera, for example, like just walking on the street in the city downtown, you shouldn't be worried because there are a bunch of lighting source all over there on the street. But it just be like this. Yep. I'm shooting at 4K 30, so I'm not shooting at 4K 24 to show you because I think 30 frames per second right now is more convenient, easier for me to shoot all my vlogs or future videos in. These 30 frames per second does have a slightly crop on the A61 or A6400 cameras, even A6600 camera as well. So it's the same on this new ZV-E10. And if you turn on the image stabilization, which is study shot, to active, you're gonna have more, I think another 1.5 crop. Yeah, that's going to be a lot. So even though this camera doesn't have in-body stabilization, it's all software, same as ZV-1. Right now it's in active mode. Pretty smooth, but you got a lot of cropping compared to if I set it to standard. So this is in standard. Then you see you got a much wider view, and it's all recorded on the onboard microphone. Okay, so now I'm turning off the steady shot. There's no stabilization at all. And this is how it looks like. However, it does record gyroscope, so you can use the Sony software to stabilize it in the post. Basically exactly the same as ZV-1 camera. You have capability to use picture profile, so that's a good thing, because if you're a content creator that familiar with post-production, color grading, and you shooting in profiles, A6600 camera does not have this function at all. And that will brings me to a very interesting point, how this camera, the new ZV-E10, stands with the rest of the APS-C camera that Sony currently sell. But I will talk about it later. 1080p up to 120 frames per second at 100 megabit per second bit rates. I wouldn't expecting much more from this camera, except we are pretty much very familiar with this camera. I previously owned a A6400 camera. I sold that. I purchased an A6600 camera. When it was on sale, I tested, they're exactly the same. But for the old sensor, I have to mention one thing is rolling shutter. You still get the same rolling shutter effects that on the A61, A64, A6600 camera. It's terrible, I tell you that. Okay, so if you don't understand what a rolling shutter is, it's basically a it's like curved or like bent, like jelly, like this. For the sound quality, I tested basically the same like on the Sony ZV-1 camera. Right now, I'm not recording on the onboard camera here. I'm using external microphone. I still think external microphone are better to use on this camera here. Though the onboard microphone is good enough versus maybe A6400 cameras. And also come with this little tiny deck cat, so you can put on top of the Sony ZV-E10. It looks very cute. And oh, by the way, this camera also comes with a white color. Yeah, it took a while for them to release different color here in North America. All those different colors, like the silver colors, like the white colors, are pretty much available right away in the Asia market. I think white color is going to be very popular for this camera here. A lot of people, especially myself, I like the white color. But you have to think about that way. Though white color is very intense to pop out. If you want to use the camera to shoot, for example, in an environment like supermarkets, convenience stores, some of them, they don't really like you to shoot video or photo there for some reasons. And if you have a white camera, more likely to notice that. Right now I have the black version here. I think I more prefer the white one. Cleaner, fit to my style, I guess. The deck cat is white color, just like little white bunny. Because this camera is pretty much the same body on the A63, A61, A64, different with A66 because the grip is much bigger on the A6600. So you're still able to use the accessory that fits on the A6400. So I tried my A6300 cage on the camera. Fits perfectly fine. Because the screen is flip up on the sideways and you already have a hot shoe mount on the top of the camera, you are still able to mount your microphone on top of that without using a hot shoe or cold shoe adapters like the ones we use on the A6400 camera. So you don't need to worry about that anymore. The Sony ZV-E10 also has a Type-C port, so you can use that to charge the battery or power up the camera while you were recording as well. Also has a 3.5mm audio jack and a headphone port, so you can monitor your sound while you were recording. But that's something missed on the A61, A6400 camera. You only have a microphone jack. You don't have the headphone jack, but A6600 does have. Sony trying to put every convenience functionality vlogger that could be used on a camera, and they just put everything on there. Why don't you just put 4K 60 or get a new sensor? But I guess that the old sensor is still usable enough for content creators or vloggers. Product showcase, same like the ZV-1. It's very snappy autofocus, so every time when you put up a product, it will just rack focus on the things that you're trying to show in front of the camera. So how does this camera going to be look like when you're using this camera for vlogging? Alright, so we're on our way to find the mysterious waterfall that I hope is somewhere close. Anyway, so this is how you're gonna vlog the ZV-E10. So if you ever use that camera for vlogging, this is how it looks like. Even though there's barely people around me, I'm still wearing my mask because the air pollution right now is pretty bad in BC here in Canada. Forest fires, almost over 300 of them all around the provinces. So you see that all smoky over there. Particles flying in the air. If you use flashlight in the night, you can see it much clearly. So I'm just wearing my mask. for the pollution. You got one really big advantage compared to the ZV-1, which is the interchangeable lens. I got to say, this is pretty much a major thing to choose this ZV-E10 is because it has interchangeable lens. Sony makes ton of lens for this. And there is a very good lens, perfect lens I would say, this one here. This is the Sony ZV-E10. This is made for APS-C camera systems, not for full frame, but you can still use this one on a full frame camera. Sony APS-Cs only have 1.5 crop factor versus the Canon has 1.6. In full frame it would be 15 to 27 mil on this lens, which is perfect for you to vlogging, because if you're on the widest end, 15 mil considering even though in full frame is ultra wide, right? I use this lens to shoot real HD photos, videos with that. There's no problem. If I say this is how it looks like on the 16 mil end, no active steady shots. There's no crop here. I'm going to show you how it looks like on the 10 mil end. Here we go. This is how it's going to look like when you turn on the active steady shot versus turn off. There is a crop factor, just accept that, but it's still wider enough than the 16 mil. I have to say, if you want to use this Sony ZV-E10 to vlog yourself, you got to have this lens at least. This lens also have OSS, which is optical stabilization built in, but I suggest you to turn off active steady shots or maybe just turn it to standard mode. The reason why I say that is just because it doesn't have ABS built in, so it's all electronic. Electronics intends to have a little bit jittering. When it works with OSS, it just I don't think that combination works that well just using the OSS, or maybe just use that in the standard mode. But still, yeah, very good lens. Cost you about another $1,000 here in Canada. Alright, so that's the thing I want to talk about in the last, is the price. So this camera priced at $699 US. In Canada, I already see the pre-order price is $899. Considering how this camera can capable of doing, which essentially is just A6400, does everything a vlogger that wanted to. $699. So for example, in Canada, the ZV-1 it was on sale for $859 or $899, so which was essentially the same price as the new ZV-E10. And A6100 camera is priced at $1,000. A6400 camera is priced at $1,400 Canadian. A6600 is about a $1,800, something like that. All those cameras are more expensive. How could you not choose this camera? That's why I said I'm starting to worry about how Sony going to considering or put the other cameras compared to this one. I'm not sure how they marketing those, or maybe they will eventually lower the price for HD100 or HD400 camera. $699, the body only, by the way, not with kit lens. Even in Canada, $900. There's no competition, I would say. No such cameras that offer same functionalities is good all around vlogger camera. Only thing if you ever want to choose ZV-1 is you want a much pocketable or pocket-sized camera, so that's why the reason you're probably going to choose ZV-1. Right now we have to wait to see what the Canon going to react as this Sony ZV-E10, because this camera is going to eat a lot of the market share once this camera lands on land. So I've talked about the interchangeable lens on this camera. Another benefit for interchangeable lens is you can put an ND filter on top of lens. For example, I also got this 16mm Sigma lens, which is also a really good lens to use on APS-C camera. So you see that I put a variable ND on this lens here. Yeah, just like the ones I'm using right now. So I don't need to worry about changing the shutter speed with the aperture to ruin my shots, because I'm trying to stay 180-degree rules. So I'm shooting 4K 30 right now. My shutter speed is at 1/60. So if you're shooting 24, then on the Sony it's about 1/50. So what I say, the Sony ZV-E10 camera is just exactly the same as A6600 camera or the A6400. In picture quality wise, it's the same. Wide. You got to vlog on a wide lens.